Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
Hey, welcome back to Evil's Comics. I'm Evil Mike, and I got a review for you today. Today we're going to be talking about Dark Horse Comics with Flux House. We're going to be talking about Hairball issue number 1. It is written by Matt Kindt, art and letters by Tyler Jenkins, and then colors by Hilary Jenkins, and the cover is also done by Tyler Jenkins. Before we get started, please like, comment, subscribe on this guy's channel right here. It does help. I love the feedback, the interaction. It's all free. It doesn't cost you anything. All you got to do is hit that like button, the bell, subscribe, or type in a comment. That's it. Alright, so we got Hairball. And this was a book I was excitedly looking forward to. It's supposed to be a horror, tale mixed with a cat. And sure enough, that's what we got. It starts out and it's basically this little girl, which I don't know if we ever get any names besides the cat's names. The cat name is Betsy. But it's a little girl telling a story about how her mom, her dad, and her moved into this house on the first day. When they moved in, all of a sudden Betsy, the stray cat, kind of moved in with him. It says that Amy is she's in a special way, let's just say. The book kind of states that she's just quiet, but not really like she's disabled or anything. The book does get at the point later on. It kind of gives you hints on why she's quiet, but it's kind of describing why the family was able to take in the stray cat so easily. It's a matter of like appeasing their so-called sick daughter. It is brought up in many different pieces of the conversation between the parents about medical bills and stuff like that. But it kind of sounds like, when you get down to it, that the dad is more like making it seem like it's a medical emergency type of thing. When you get down to the basis of the story, it's basically a mom and a dad that are fighting constantly over many things, but usually the daughter. The tale is told through the daughter talking to a psychiatrist, it seems like. As you can see here, she's sitting across from the psychiatrist. I want to say the psychiatrist's name is Amy or June, something like that. But like I said, we don't get too many names. I actually flipped through the book like 3 times looking for names, and it pretty much just Betsy. But during the conversation with the parents, it's a lot of different things. It's mistrust, that kind of stuff goes back and forth. The conversation with the psychiatrist and the little girl it is like 3 different things. What would happen if your parents were to split? Would you go live with your mom or your dad, kind of thing? There is a major thing that happens on the first night after they move in, and it's kind of like really weird and random, but I kind of showed it earlier. But during the middle of the night, Betsy the cat goes into the little girl's room and bites her on her arm. The little girl makes no note, or doesn't wake up that she was bitten. As you can see, there's blood and everything. But a little bit after she's bitten, there's like the symbol that shows up. And later on, the mom and dad does see the symbol, but they kind of state that it's a rash. In a second after that symbol appeared, we see these 2 little worm type creatures that crawl out of the bite marks and basically crawl under the bed as the cat watches them crawl under the bed. These little things happen in the background. It's kind of going on as she's telling the story. I mean, to this part, she doesn't really know about this other stuff because it happens while she's sleeping. There does get to another point during the book, and it's not really set up in days or weeks or anything like that, except for the first night. But we do get to another point where the cat starts, Betsy the cat starts hacking up a hairball, which cats are prone to do. But this hairball is a little different, and it comes into play a little later. But the cat's just kind of causing mass havoc in the house. He ends up hacking up that hairball on the father's work. The father comes home, finds the hairball on his work, something that he needed to turn in like the next day. Gets pissed at the cat. There are like subtle notes, like right here, as he's getting pissed at the cat, he looks at the cat, claiming he's going to kill the cat. The cat looks at him for a second, closes his eyes, and when he opens them back up, is that one of the eyes is like the pupil is, it's set the wrong way, kind of, telling us this isn't some normal cat. There's other instances like the mom and the dad arguing about a TV show and the daughter actually wants to watch something else. The cat ends up like biting on the wires, and it ends up getting the channel to change, causing the argument to stop. There's other moments where like the mom is trying to relax, taking a bath, she's listening to music, and the Betsy the cat kind of hops up on the windowsill and bats the stereo down, breaking it. But they're just little moments of like havoc, and it's kind of going back and forth as the little girl's telling the story about the bad things that are going on in the house. Not only are the parents fighting, but now they have this a new kid that it seems that neither one of them won. But at the same time, they got this new cat, and the cat's kind of like doing new animal stuff. If you've ever had a new kitten or a new puppy or something like that, it's just like having a baby. But of course, this book, is painting the picture that this is not some ordinary cat, So there is another moment where those two worms that creeped out of the little girl come back, and they kind of hover around the little girl as she's sleeping. She does do this weird thing where she opens her eyes, but she's still sleeping. But the worms actually start talking to her, and they tell her shh at first, and then it's like shh, won't, and then it's eventually we won't leave you ever is what they say. We do see that hairball that was hacked up on the father's work in the trash later on becomes one of those worms as well. But eventually we get to like the climax of this issue, because in the beginning it was mentioned that something horrible happened to the family on like during the first months of them living in this new house. They go back to this hairball that the cat hacked out of the trash or something, and it's literally kind of following the father. You see it like moving around. Eventually he does step on it. He makes another comment. There is this weird thing that makes no sense. They don't explain it, but as soon as he steps on the hairball, all of a sudden he gets this cut right above, or like right below his eye. They do kind of they do show that it's there, like he's got the band-aid where the cut was, but never any mention on how he got the cut or whatever. But the little girl keeps telling the story of how it got so bad. But eventually they show the father drinking coffee. Inside the coffee, it's that same hairball that's been following him around, and we saw earlier it's not a hairball, it's like some weird worm thing. But he ends up swallowing like most of it, and we see that he ends up like choking, and they don't really say he dies, but I mean that's because that's where the book cuts off. But you have to assume that he's either dying or changing into something. I don't know, because that's kind of where the book leaves off. They do show the father in agony on the ground as he's trying to, hack that thing out of his throat. That's the last picture they show us, and they give us a little preview of the next cover. And a little kind of paragraph. It says, as the young girl's black cat continues to plague her family with horror and tragedy, she decides she must take matters into her own hands to put an end to the feline's evil ways. I will state during the book, she does mention the cat a lot, and mentions that the cat is her only known friend. So it's kind of weird that paragraph, that all of a sudden the daughter's seeing this cat as an enemy type of thing. Because during the book, as you read it, it's kind of taken, that this girl doesn't know that these things are going on. She's just living in a bad, parental, household or anything like that. As far as she's concerned, there's no, supernatural stuff going on. I don't know, but that's my review. Honestly, there's a couple things I'd like to note. The paper quality isn't a normal paper, but it's kind of fantastic. It's a little thicker. It's almost like a cardboard bag, kind of. But another thing is the art. The art is really good. There's a lot of like subtle nods where you have to kind of like look around and like kind of like how the cat's eye was changing. It took me a couple of moments to, see that or notice it kind of thing. But for a first issue, it's fantastic, and what the promise of what's coming sounds interesting. But that's my review. That's what I got. I'll leave you all at that. Let me know down below if you read this book. Did you pass it up? Are you looking forward to the second issue? Let me know. All right, guys. That's what I got for you. I will let y'all go on this beautiful Saturday afternoon. All right, guys. Back.